mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. That's where you're listening. You're watching worldwide on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/livenowdt, and on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you're tuning into the broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we thank you for being here inside of the Cafe Kubal studios and very much appreciate Cafe Kubal for being here with us where sports meets that thing called life. So thank you to Cafe Kubal for being here. And of course, they are there for you in the community in multiple locations. You could find Cafe Kubal by going to 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, as well as 401 South Salina Street. And you can also find Cafe Kubal by going to the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners in their drive-through location and in North Syracuse. And of course, you can find them at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown striped building. So that's how you connect with Cafe Kubal, and we thank you for connecting with us here today on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, be it on mixlr.com, youtube.com, or facebook.com, all /Wake Up Call DT to keep it easy and keep it simple for you worldwide. We have a fantastic show set up for you today. We're going to the court and we're going to the field. Inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We will start the show off in hour number 1 in just a few minutes here around 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll be joined by our resident analyst of all things basketball. That is Mr. Dave Pasiak, longtime head coach who is currently at NVU Linden with the Hornets in the great state of Vermont. He's been a head coach for many, many years and spent a lot of time in central and upstate New York, and he continues to recruit from our area into Vermont, and I appreciate Dave's connection to central and upstate New York, my hometown, and of course I appreciate Dave for all he has done to really just stay abreast of multiple things when it comes to the basketball world. I mean, there's really nowhere that I've gone before where Dave didn't have an answer or a thought about it. He stays very schooled in the game, no matter what level it is, NCAA Division 1, 2, 3, JUCO, as well as the NBA, and high school. So I want to thank Dave Pasiak for all of his work, and I'm happy to have him here on the broadcast around 9:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Dave and I will discuss the NBA playoffs, and we'll talk about something I was discussing earlier on in this week, which was the fact of, are we seeing these super teams, right? These teams that have been assembled together to win championships. Are we seeing a shift of the NBA away from these teams? That LeBron James and Anthony Davis and that whole project with the Lakers didn't work out, and now we are seeing what's going on currently right now with the Brooklyn Nets. And, they had the Harden, Kyrie, they had the Irving, Harden, Durant trio that was supposed to potentially vie for multiple championships, and that has yet to work out for Kyrie as well as Kevin Durant together, and it did not work out to have the trio of them as James Harden was shipped away for Ben Simmons over to the Philadelphia 76ers. So we've already seen a change in that respect, and that hasn't worked. So are we seeing the NBA super team demise, and dare I say it, can putting together a team through the draft and working together? And yeah, I mean, you got to make some moves, you got to make some trades and whatnot, but is the, team growing together as opposed to the NBA super team? Is that the way that the NBA is going? Which I'm hoping that it is, because the whole, let's all pick a city and go there together and try to win a championship by creating a team that only I would create, growing up as a kid on NBA 2K or something like that. So, are we getting away from that, and are we going toward really building up a team? And what can we say about that? The Celtics have found success through the draft. They're still playing. The Raptors have found success through the draft. They're still playing. The Golden State Warriors, a lot of their team that's won championships was through the draft. They're still playing. So the conversation on where the NBA is right now and where it could be going. So we'll talk about that with Dave Pasiak. And, of course, we will discuss the series because, a bunch of these series went the way I thought that they would go. I thought that the Bucks would win their series, but Chicago would get at least one game. That happened. I thought that the Golden State Warriors had a good chance of sweeping. They won 4-1, so went 5 instead of the 4 that I had, but thought that would be a relative, I don't want to call it, nothing's an easy run, but that I thought that they wouldn't have too much trouble getting to the next round. I also thought that Atlanta would steal one, and they did before the Heat took care of business. And I thought Minnesota would definitely make this interesting and have a shot at winning it, and they're down just one game, 3-2. And I thought New Orleans, this would be fun to see them push the Suns, and they've pushed them to a Game 6 coming up as Phoenix leads 3-2. So a lot of good stuff coming up in the NBA, and a lot of chips falling the way that I thought that they would and hoped that they would. So looking forward to what's coming up. And, of course, tonight, my Raptors have proven me wrong. I love being wrong in this situation, knowing that the Raptors have lived to breathe another day, and I'm looking forward to them being in Jurassic Park tonight with an opportunity to force a Game 7. So definitely looking very much to tonight and what's to come when the Raptors tip off at, I believe, 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight. So definitely looking forward to that, and appreciate you all for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So a lot of great stuff coming up. And in hour number 2, pardon me here, I was talking about hour number 1 and everything we're doing here. In hour number 2, we will have the fantastic pleasure. You want to get to know one of the players heading off to the NFL draft from Syracuse, really get to know him in a way that you won't get to know him anywhere else, well, then you've come to the right place. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, bringing you a very extensive, in-depth conversation with a man that came from Lagos, Nigeria, all the way to Syracuse University, and is now trying to make it in the NFL as a defensive end, outside linebacker, or a hybrid of both. Kingsley Jonathan joins the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora around 10 a.m. Eastern Time today, and will take us through the entire second hour of the broadcast in his path to the draft as he joins us on draft day. Very excited and hopeful to hear Kingsley Jonathan's name one of these 3 days inside of the NFL draft. So very excited to share that story with you. That's all coming up where sports meets life. Dave Pasiak, Kingsley Jonathan, and you all join me right after this fast break inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Thank you so much for being here where sports truly meets life.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, on mixlr.com /wakeupcalldt, and of course on facebook.com and youtube.com, both /wakeupcalldt, as well as on facebook.com /livenowdt. So plenty of ways to connect with the show, and however you're connecting with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, we thank you so much for being a part of the broadcast every single Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time right here inside of the Cafe Q-Ball studios. So always looking forward to everything that we get to do here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And one of the things that I love doing is having somebody that's been on the show with me for 11 years now, and that is Dave Pasiak. Dave Pasiak, a longtime basketball coach and analyst, a lover of the game before anything else, and somebody who I always feel confident and comfortable going to when it comes to speaking on the many topics of the hard court. So with that being said, we bring Dave back to the broadcast here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Mr. Pasiak, how are we doing?
Doing great today, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. And Dave, first and foremost, to jump into the only series that has ended in a sweep, your thoughts on the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, this was a very interesting series in the sense of the fact that, I thought that Brooklyn would be able to get one, maybe 2 games, make this interesting, do something here, and Boston found a way to squeak it out. I figured it out that if you add up the sweep of the 4 games that Boston won in order to win the series without any issue whatsoever there, they won by a combined 18 points. That was all it took to beat the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, very small margins, 1-point victories, I think the largest victory that they had was maybe 7 points in the whole thing, but when you put it all together, they won by a very small margin of points. And, that just goes to show on defensively. It shows coaching. It shows the ability to grind it out, the ability to overcome their mistakes. What can you say about the Boston Celtics and the fact that not only did they sweep the series, and they're the only team to sweep a series in round 1 of the NBA playoffs this season, but that they did it by gutting it out really in every single game, finding a way to make up for their mistakes and just get a few points at the end of that game when they needed it.
Yeah, it's funny because going into the playoffs, most people, including myself, thought Boston and Brooklyn would be the best of the first round matchups, and I actually thought Brooklyn would win that series going in. It turned out to be the only sweep. So I think there's a couple of take homes on that. First of all was game 1, and Brooklyn had a chance to win that game. Boston scores, wins right at the buzzer, wins by 1. Brooklyn probably could have won that game. If they win that game, the whole tenor of the series is different. So, I think that one possession, one play at the end of that game really kind of set the tone. Boston has really played as well as anybody in the NBA the second half of the season. I think Udoka doesn't get enough credit, perhaps, as a head coach. You go back a few years, and a lot of people were ready to anoint Brad Stevens as the best coach in the NBA 5 minutes into his tenure when he hadn't really done anything. And, the Celtics seem to kind of plateau under Stevens the last couple of years. And Udoka has really kind of taken pretty much the same core and elevated them second half of this season, and really did a great job. I think their defensive game plan against Brooklyn was excellent. Durant had a poor series, I thought, and part of that is on him, but part of that is also on Boston's defensive game plan. On the Brooklyn side, I think the thing that really hurt them, and the reason the Celtics closed games, Brooklyn relies so much on isolation and one-on-one play from Durant and Irving. And I just felt like at the end of the game, Boston was able to load up on that defensively and really make it tough on Brooklyn, coming down the stretch of games. And, the other thing with Brooklyn, it sounds like he's going to survive, but, Steve Nash maybe, I know he was Irving's guy and Durant's guy, but, it felt a little bit like the moment might be too big for him in terms of, Boston seemed to be the team of the two that really was better adjusted and game plan better as the series progressed. So it'd be interesting to see where Brooklyn goes. I think as a franchise, they're in an interesting spot. You listen to Irving after the game. He's like, KD and I are going to get together with management and just figure out what personnel moves we need to make. So it seems like Irving and KD are kind of driving the bus there, which is no real surprise if you've seen how that team was kind of put together. But getting back to Boston, like I said, Tatum and Brown are playing at an exceptionally high level, and they have played as well as anybody in the NBA second half of the season. And this next series between the Celtics and the Bucks, I think will really be entertaining and competitive and hard fought.
Yeah, and I think this series is obviously stacking up to be a potential great one here. What is it about the Celtics that surprised you? Did anything surprise you? I know you said you thought originally that Brooklyn would win this series. I thought that Brooklyn would make it interesting. And, the Celtics' first couple games, listen, people weren't talking that positively about it. The Celtics were struggling. My Aunt Donna is a giant Celtics fan. My grandfather up in heaven, God bless him. My Pop Cavino, he's a big Celtics fan, big Larry Bird fan. And so, I know talking with her in these first couple games, she wasn't happy with the way the team was playing, especially game 2. So what was it about the Celtics that really, maybe surprised you, stuck out to you, positively or negatively, within this series sweep?
Well, I think the one thing is Tatum kind of emerged as the best player in the series, which is is a pretty big statement considering the other guys line up with Durant and Irving. So I think him emerging as the best player in the series was he's been a tremendous player in the league, but I don't think most of the basketball world would have put him on quite the same tier as a Durant or an Irving. But yet in this series, he was better than those guys. And I think Jaylen Brown, as a number 2 guy, has really kind of come into his own also. The one thing, like I said, one thing that surprised me a little bit is how difficult the Celtics made it for Durant. I thought going into the series, I thought Durant was going to be the one constant that would be there for Brooklyn. And then, Irving, by his nature over his career, has been kind of mediocre, great and then disappeared, great and then so I thought it was going to come down to more of what the supporting cast from Brooklyn could do. But, the way it played out, Durant, like I said, was a really subpar for Kevin Durant series. And Boston gets a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Boston found a way to come through it and get this victory and be able to move forward as the only team to sweep, which I don't think many saw coming, that this would be the clean sweep series that we saw. So that begs the question, and Dave, we'll get into a lot of different things today. We're here with Dave Pasiak. Always happy to have Dave on the broadcast, as Dave joins me as a longtime basketball head coach as well as analyst, and big connection to the central and upstate New York area, and of course currently being the head coach of the NVU Linden Hornets in the great state of Vermont for Division III basketball on the men's side of things. Dave, for you to take a look at something that I've been playing with here and talking about this week, and that's the fact of the NBA's super team, right? The let's go to a city, we're all friends, there's no collusion. Okay, yeah, right, there is. But we meet together, maybe we play on Team USA together, whatever it may be. Maybe we go to the All-Star game and hang out somewhere together, and we start talking to each other, and let's say I'm KD and I'm talking to Kyrie, and Harden comes over and we're all having dinner, and we say, you know what? I'd like to go to New York City. Yeah, you want to go to the Knicks? Not really. Let's go to Brooklyn. Okay, sounds good. Well, how do we put this together? Well, my contract's ending this year. My contract's ending. My contract, I got a player option. Okay, cool. So how about you take 20, I'll take 25, you take 22, we'll make it all work, and we'll go over to Brooklyn, we'll make this happen. The reality of the NBA super team, right? LeBron has been doing it for over a decade, going somewhere, putting a team together, saying, well, I don't want to play against him, so let's go get him, and I want to play against him, so let's go get him too. And we saw the Brooklyn Nets assemble this, and it's not working right now. What are your thoughts on, does this signal a change to the NBA's guard? Is it showing that, going somewhere and putting together this team that what you would only see on a video game is not going to work anymore? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think that, putting a team together is it's always been about, and it's always going to be about putting the right pieces together to be the best team as opposed to individual parts. And it's not that long ago that we saw this movie play out in Brooklyn before. If you remember back, they traded for Garnett and Pierce and had Darren Williams, and that was supposed to be a championship team in Brooklyn, and that didn't go real well either. And it's really, whether it's players deciding they want to all go to the same team or whether it's adding the right pieces. You look at Phoenix adding Chris Paul to a team on the rise. You got to have, in the NBA, the ingredients to championship team. There have been very few examples where this hasn't been the case. You got to have 2 to 3 elite level players, and then the right supporting cast that complements those guys, and you can play at a championship level. There's very few instances of one guy putting a team on his back. Probably the Mavericks with Dirk is probably the last example of that, without really the great supporting cast. So if you're going to try to put a quote unquote super team together, you need those maybe 3-ish elite level players, but you need the guys around them. And like people forget, Miami, when it was LeBron and D Wade and Bosh. Well, there was some pieces around that. Ray Allen being a huge one. Udonis Haslem being another guy when he was really like playing in more an actual contributor versus his role now as like kind of the locker room sheriff. Those guys were just as integral to that team's success because they had the right complementary parts. If you look at the Lakers now, I think that's the problem with the Lakers, and unfortunately, Frank Vogel's the guy that took because they had the right. It's really a complementary part. They've got parts around. Part of it is a health issue too. I mean, you got to stay healthy, but the parts around LeBron and Anthony Davis don't fit all that well. So that's again comes back around to the front office making the right decisions. And the other thing is that sometimes when you see like teams or groups of players, but teams they'll chase guys when they're starting to decline in their career just a tad. And I think like if you look at football, the New England Patriots are probably the best organization in sports history, recent history anyways. They cut bait with players just before they hit the decline. You'll see guys, the Patriots will get rid of a guy, and then he goes somewhere else and his production goes down. Like Tom Brady actually out-patrioted the Patriots by leaving New England before the team hit the decline for a couple of years. But they've been really good with that. And like in the NBA, it's even more integral that you avoid that trap. We talked about that Brooklyn team from 8 or 9 years ago. They traded for Garnett and Pierce chasing the ring, and those guys, it was just the time when those guys, they were starting to decline in their career. You wonder about that with KD, still a great player, and in an individual game, can still take over the game. But, coming off the long layoff with the injury, and there's a lot of tread been worn off those tires. You think about all three of those guys that were together in Oklahoma City, Durant and Harden and Westbrook, and like all three of those guys, seem to. I mean, their peak days are probably in the rearview mirror. KD's still, like I said, elite on a given day. Same with LeBron. LeBron can still be elite, and he was, in the running for a scoring championship this year. But I think those guys probably have too much tread off the tires to be able to carry a team for an 82-game season plus playoffs without having the right supporting cast around them.
Yeah, and like you said, having the right supporting cast, and I love the fact that you gave some of that background, and different pieces of that other teams, had tried to do it, that the Nets had tried to do this prior and that it didn't work out. Some people forget that the Nets tried to assemble a team and have this run. And, you bring up the Patriots, who just know how to cut bait before, things start to decline for these players. And they've just been really smart to that. And, obviously you said Tom Brady was the one to kind of break that trend. And Tom Brady is an enigma. I think we can all agree on the fact that, Brady in and of himself is a very different player when it comes to the fact that maybe this rule will apply for everybody, but not for him. He was a 6th round compensatory pick, and everybody's worried about round number 1 in the NFL draft, and he was one of the guys that they took a chance on who barely played at Michigan, who was a backup quarterback. So, they say they saw something in him, and it's about being smart, but you talk about the point that you brought up was the decline, right? Knowing when a player is declining and thinking, well, his value's high, but we're not anticipating that he's going to bring a lot to the team, right? We think he's on the other side of the hill as far as his playing days, yet we know that he's got a lot of trade value. And so that's something that the Patriots have been great at, as you mentioned, but other teams have been smart with this too, saying, okay, you know what, if you want this guy, you can have him, and they know that the name alone is going to get them some money, get them some picks, get them something, get them somebody coming in. That brings me to the statement of Russell Westbrook. He has the name. He's been a triple-double machine. We know that he can do a lot of great things, but KD left, James Harden left, and he was left alone in Oklahoma City. He's bounced around since then. Is this one of the worst moments of, well, he's got a good name, he's got value, we think he can bring something, and it didn't work out? Is the Russell Westbrook move to come to the Lakers, in your opinion, one of the worst moves in NBA history when it comes down to what you were just talking about, having a name and people knowing that you have value to the league, but also knowing that they're willing to cut bait with you and don't really need you there? Was this one of the worst moves that you've seen in the sense of somebody thinking, whoa, we're going to get somebody great, and he's on the other side of the hill?
Yeah, he's a guy, really classic example of a high usage guy. And the thing about Russell Westbrook is, when Russell Westbrook was his peak, a lot of people love Russell Westbrook. He plays so hard, which, he does play with great energy and everything. But you think about how many guys Russell Westbrook has really made better. You think about the guys he's played with. Now, you talk about bad deals. When when Oklahoma City had Westbrook, Harden, and Durant, like the all-time, probably the worst deal in the NBA in the last 20 years was when the OKC decided they'd rather hang on to Serge Ibaka than James Harden. But be that as may, you think about Westbrook. Harden got away from him, became an MVP player. Durant has always been a high-level player. So, Durant's going to be great regardless. But Westbrook, like you said, he's bounced around, and I think the only guy that really comes to mind who kind of developed the ability to play off him and really enhanced his stature in the NBA is probably Steven Adams, who really had a good run in Oklahoma City playing next to Westbrook. But he's a ball dominant guy. He's really at his best where he has to be the guy taking a lot of shots and dominating the ball, dominating play. And he's in a situation in Los Angeles where, you're not going to take the ball out of LeBron's hands, in big moments, and so what does that reduce Westbrook to is being an off-ball shooter, which has really never been his strength as a player. So again, it's a classic case of the parts not fitting, and say, yeah, okay, Russell Westbrook, former MVP, be a great ad in Los Angeles. Well, doesn't really fit well with LeBron, with Anthony Davis, and with that cast of characters that they have.
Yeah, and that's, we see the project that the Lakers started and talking about putting together these super teams and it not working out. LeBron making that move for Anthony Davis not panning out, not staying healthy. Russell Westbrook not panning out. What is your take on what's gone on in LA that, we see the Brooklyn Nets get swept as they try to put together this super team, and they've already admitted that it wasn't working in shipping off James Harden and bringing in Ben Simmons during this season before the playoffs even began. So we know that they kind of said, okay, you know what? Kyrie, James Harden, Kevin Durant, it's not working out, so we're going to keep 2 out of the 3 of them and see what we can do from here. The Lakers didn't even make the playoffs. The Lakers didn't have any type of a great season. And the thing that I that's kind of throwing me off here, Dave, and, we're fundamentals guys, is that when they, when you go back and you look at this season, not only did the Lakers and the Nets struggle, but they were bouncing the ball off their leg. They were losing the handles. Like, what is the correlation to the fact of, that not only these super teams struggling, but it seems like they can't even dribble the ball. They were, is this a mental thing at this point? Because we're seeing not only professionals, but professionals that are considered elite in the NBA that are struggling to pass the ball, hold on to the ball, turn with the ball, keep the ball off their own feet. What's going on that they're fumbling over themselves? Is this part of the side effect of a super team that mentally sometimes it wears you down because you have so many big personalities in a locker room?
I don't know. That's really hard to say. I think it comes back around to, like with Brooklyn in the playoffs, the complementary parts not really being great fits. So you put a lot of pressure on, your 2 or 3 star guys, and teams load up on them. I think it probably has as much to do with that as anything. I think in the Lakers case, certainly like hugely disappointing season for for Lakers and Laker fans and everything. And Vogel took the fall for it, but I think when they brought Anthony Davis and LeBron in, I think their plan, probably made some sense at the time. Is that LeBron's going to be the guy and Davis will be the number 2, and as LeBron starts to age, Davis becomes the number 1. I think one of the the fly in that ointment is that Davis has his history of not necessarily staying healthy, and Davis, you go back to his days in New Orleans, hasn't really proven that he can elevate a team as a number 1 guy. He was great in the championship year. When they won a title in the bubble and everything, he and LeBron were, and they had a good, guys like Kuzma that really fit well around them. But has really taken a southbound turn ever since then.
Yeah, and seeing this Lakers team as we move forward here, we know that LeBron James is obviously still under contract. The question is, what do they do with this? You have a free agent max bird contract for Anthony Davis. You have kind of an open floor plan here with the Lakers. The team for 2022-23, when we're looking at salary cap and whatnot, you have Austin Reeves, Wenyen Gabriel, Stanley Johnson, Kendrick Nunn, Talen Horton-Tucker, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Russell Westbrook. What do you think the Lakers need to do? If you were the Lakers general manager right now and you were sitting there in the room, do you shed Anthony Davis, shed Russell Westbrook, and just go to LeBron and say, pick 2 more guys? Pick somebody else. We're going to try and figure things out with, getting some young talent in here, but pick 2 other guys. What do you do if you are the Lakers right now? What are the next moves that you make?
Well, they're in a really tough spot because, I think they're going to build around LeBron and Anthony Davis. I think they've hitched their cart to hitched their horse to that cart. The obvious guy that they would probably want to move is Westbrook, but the market for him and the ability to move him is really limited. You've heard off and on a Westbrook for John Wall deal has been blown in the wind for a while, but does John Wall fit I mean, John Wall didn't play at all this year. Is he a better fit in that situation than Westbrook would be? I don't know. Like I said, he's been out of circulation for better than a season. So what kind of John Wall are you going to get? So the Lakers are in a really, really, my suspicion is in the short run, they'll try to find a couple guys that'll come in and play for a veteran minimum, and try to catch lightning in a bottle for a year. That's my guess. Who's going to be out there when free agency hits, we'll see. But, I think that where the team is, that's a tougher sell. When LeBron was really at his peak, with Cleveland and Miami and whatnot, they used to be able to, those teams were able to get people to play at a discount for a chance to win a championship playing with LeBron. I don't know that that's going to happen. Matter of fact, I don't think it will happen in LA, just because I don't think the team is anywhere near championship level. So, their flexibility to do very much in terms of the roster is not that great right now. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yeah, I mean, we look at free agency for them as it stands right now for 2022. Russell Westbrook, Kendrick Nunn have player options. Trevor Ariza, free agent. Wayne Ellington, Dwight Howard, Kent Bazemore, Malik Monk, Carmelo Anthony, DeAndre Jordan, Mason Jones. And then in 2023, LeBron James has the opportunity to get out of there. So, I mean, they know they have LeBron for this season and maybe this season only. Like you said, it's going to be a hard sell to bring somebody in. But, I mean, have we seen the end of Dwight Howard as a Laker? Have we seen the end of Carmelo Anthony as a Laker? I mean, does Carmelo Anthony unceremoniously retire now? I mean, how do you see this team where, at one point the Trevor Ariza name was a big one to bring in? Malik Monk, think about everything he did collegiately. Carmelo Anthony and DeAndre Jordan, Dwight Howard, when those names were coming into the Lakers, people were thinking championship, vying for, at least getting to the NBA Finals and making it interesting. Is this an admittance that the project didn't work, and where do we go from here? I mean, these names are not small names in the NBA. So is this an admittance of, hey, guys, we tried. I hope you all have a great life. Enjoy free agency, and we're going to look totally different in 2022-23.
Well, I mean, those guys you mentioned, like, Carmelo and Dwight Howard and Jordan, like, those kind of guys, like, I mean, you're right. They're big names, low value right now.
Yeah.
High name value, low production value. So I can't see them running it back with basically the same lineup. I mean, I think those guys, Dwight Howard Dwight Howard has kind of become that the last couple of years, and so is Carmelo. Bouncing from team to team on a 1-year deal where they can get a good 1-year deal and fit. Be like maybe that one piece that a team needs. And I think going into this year, the Lakers probably looked at those guys in that light. But, you got an older roster when you're built around LeBron and Anthony Davis, who's not that old necessarily, but it's got the injury history. I can't. I mean, Carmelo's not getting any younger, and Dwight Howard is not getting any younger. And I don't think bringing those guys back does much of anything to move you closer to a championship. I think they're going to have to try to be really, really creative with a deal or free agency. But I just don't know what kind of moves they have. And then you said LeBron's a free agent in 23. He's already made waves about wanting to go wherever Bronny plays, so, which actually, I know people have have criticized him for that, but it's a pretty shrewd move from a business standpoint to maximize his son's value. Because there will be a team out there that will probably overdraft Bronny to sign LeBron for the market value of that and the on-the-court value. Because LeBron will. I don't expect him. I expect him to continue to decline just because of the amount of wear in his body. But I don't think he's going to fall off a cliff. I certainly think he'll still be in the league if he chooses to keep playing. He'll still be in the league in 23 and 24 and whatnot. So, it's a shrewd business move to improve his son's standing for sure.
Yeah, and we look here with Dave Pasiak, a longtime basketball coach and analyst, and of course lover of the game, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We look to your team, the Philadelphia 76ers, and the Brooklyn Nets to continue the conversation on the super team. Who ultimately won the trade, in your opinion? That blockbuster trade between the Brooklyn Nets and Philadelphia 76ers that sent James Harden and Paul Millsap to your Philadelphia 76ers, and Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round draft picks go to the Brooklyn Nets. Who, in your opinion, despite the fact that Brooklyn lost their series overall, in your opinion, and I know that could play a factor to it in your, who won, who lost it, but who do you think won this trade? Because, well, I don't want to load the question. I want to ask you the question, and then I'll give my thoughts. Who won the trade between the Sixers and the Nets?
Well, in hearing now, the Sixers won it by default. Just because the Nets got 0 out of Ben Simmons. So, I think from the standpoint of which team won it right now in the 21-22 season, no question the Sixers did, because they are they've gotten value out of Harden, and Harden is not MVP Harden, but Harden is still a pretty good NBA player, a high level player. So, the Sixers, Simmons wasn't going to play, so they got something of significant value for him. So you got to say the Sixers now. I think over the long haul, who won the deal, I think totally depends on if Simmons gets back to All-NBA caliber Ben Simmons of a couple of years ago. If he does that in Brooklyn and ends up being the great fit next to, which, Simmons at his best is the best perimeter defender in the NBA, the best and most versatile. So, certainly he would bring a lot of complementary skills to the table if we get All-NBA Ben Simmons. But if we get Ben Simmons who's not right in his head, and, whether the physical stuff is really mental or whether it's legitimately physical with the back and all that remains to be seen. But, it's more of a crapshoot for the Nets if they get All-NBA Simmons and Harden doesn't kind of get back close to MVP level Harden, then long term Brooklyn has a chance to win the deal. But I think in the here and now, the Sixers clearly win the deal.
Yeah, and I would agree with you with that, because the Sixers are still playing, and the Nets are not, and that's what I was kind of leading toward in the conversation. But when you look at the Brooklyn Nets, listen, some of what they brought in isn't necessarily going to stay, right? Because you look at their free agency in 2022, Andre Drummond, they have the chance to bring him in and then shed him. So their free agency, Kyrie Irving has a player option, Patty Mills has a player option, Bruce Brown, Blake Griffin, James Johnson, Andre Drummond, LaMarcus Aldridge, they're all on the free agency list for the Brooklyn Nets. So what do the Brooklyn Nets look like in the future, in your opinion? They brought in Seth Curry. He's under contract until 2023, so they do have him for that, and you got Kevin Durant. But, Kyrie Irving with the player option right now, Patty Mills with the player option, and then Blake Griffin tried that out. Andre Drummond brought him in for a little bit. LaMarcus Aldridge tried that out as well. So where do the Brooklyn Nets go, and do they shed some of this veteran, the name is there but the play on the court isn't? Do they shed that too?
Well, I can't see them bringing back. I mean, Drummond, Aldridge, and Griffin. Those. I mean, there's three more examples of guys who have high name recognition value, but have their actual production on the court has deteriorated. I mean, they weren't even playing Aldridge and Drummond. They just went to Griffin a little bit, in game 4, and actually he sparked them a little bit. But unless those guys want to, the only way those guys are coming back, and they're not going to bring all three of them back. Maybe they bring one back on a veteran minimum if they'll take that. But like Drummond especially, there's probably Drummond was playing fairly well as a backup to Embiid in Philadelphia. I think he has, of the three, probably the most value in the league. So he'll have a role with somebody in the NBA, I think. And also, Aldridge stepped away from the game once, so who knows what he's going to do with. Griffin will latch on somewhere, but I can't see the Nets bringing back all three of those guys at all.
And with your team, Dave, when we take a look at the Philadelphia 76ers, James Harden, after this season, he has a player option. Paul Millsap, and, love the fact that I can say this, Charlie Brown. So Charlie Brown Jr. restricted, Miles Powell, Shake Milton. Shake Milton, there's a team option. Miles Powell and Charlie Brown Jr. are restricted. Paul Millsap is an unrestricted free agent, and James Harden has a player option. What are your thoughts on Philly moving forward, and do you think that James Harden is the right fit for Philadelphia? Do you like him with Joel Embiid? I know the jury may still be out based on what happens in the playoffs here, but as of right now, do you like a Harden, Embiid, Maxey future to the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, I think so. I love Maxey. I think the best deal the Sixers didn't make in the last 2 years was not including Maxey in the trade with Simmons a year ago when they were talking trading for James Harden, and Maxey or Thibault were the guys that they wanted to package, and the Sixers didn't want to let go of those guys. So, I think Maxey could emerge as the 2 and Harden the 3 over the next year. I think Harden can be a good fit there. Right now, they need him. They need him to score a little bit more in the here and now in the playoffs. I suspect that when the deal was made, there is or was or kind of has in place some sort of gentleman's agreement between Harden and the Sixers that they're going to lock him in past, certainly past this year. I would be quite surprised if he doesn't sign a longer-term extension, this summer. But on the other hand, if they crater and lose the next 2 to the Raptors, all bets are off. Who knows? But I think that's 3 you can build around. Embiid should be the MVP this year, even though I don't think he's going to win it. He should. They want to maximize their window of opportunity around Embiid, so I think having Harden does that for them. So,
do you? The Ben Simmons project. You being a Philadelphia 76ers fan, speaking here with Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball coach and analyst and fan of the game, as am I. NBA playoffs we're discussing here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. I want to give a shout out to NVU Linden for the Hornets NCAA Division III men's basketball team that Dave Pasiak is the head coach of. So I want to shout out NVU Linden and the Hornets in the great state of Vermont before we jump into this conversation on Ben Simmons. Obviously you got to see him for 4 seasons. He never played a complete every single game season, and less in 2019-2020, played 57 games. In 2020-2021, played 58 games. We've seen him have 14 points a game or better. His lowest point total came in 2020-2021. Of his 4 seasons, the most recent one, 14.3 points per game. As a career of 4 seasons in the NBA, he's averaging about 16 points a game, 8 rebounds a game. So your take on the Ben Simmons project, boom or bust? He was drafted in the first round, number 1 overall back in 2016 by Philadelphia out of LSU. He's the first overall pick. These picks are the ones that people definitely take a look at. Not only was he a first round pick, but he is one of the few people that can say I was the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft, and that coming back in 2016. Now that time in Philadelphia, those 4 seasons are over, boom or bust, in your opinion, the Ben Simmons project with all the drama, and is he injured and is he not, and what's going on with this and what's with that, and he comes back and then he's gone again. What are your takeaways from what they tried to do with Ben Simmons that never worked in Philadelphia?
Well, I mean, I thought for most of his time there it did work. Okay. You know, he was, and people forget, he was an all-NBA player, which a couple of years ago, which means he was one of the 15 best players in the league during that season. You know, and he's been throughout his career an elite level defender. I mean, probably the best perimeter defender, versatile perimeter defender, can defend 1 through 4 in the league. And you know, people love to say, like, you know, defense wins championships. If that's the case, then there should be high value for a guy like that. And you know, people remember a couple of years ago they were at. You know, the shot that danced on the rim and fell from Kawhi Leonard. I mean, that was the difference potentially between the Sixers and the NBA Finals or an NBA championship. So, I mean, they were, you know, they've been close. And I think they certainly, you know, Simmons and Embiid were the guys that were the catalysts for emerging from the dark days of the process. You know, so I think there were, you know, if you look at the big picture, there was, you know, quite a bit of good to the Ben Simmons time in Philadelphia. The ending of it was horrendous, obviously. And I think as things unraveled at the end of last season, I thought Philadelphia as a team and the management, Doc Rivers threw Simmons under the bus and the management and all that, I thought the team did not handle that particularly well. And I thought they were as much of the problem as Simmons. But then as time went on, and I thought Simmons really handled things poorly and probably depressed his own market value. I think both teams, I think the franchise initially and then the player, you know, made it more difficult for them to move him. You know, so I think how, like, the last 12 months have unfolded, you know, have really kind of changed the narrative on Ben Simmons and you know, really calling the question whether he's ever going to be, again, a high-level NBA guy. You know, he certainly doesn't have the value that he had, you know, say 13 months ago. You know, the one thing that's always been a criticism of him is he can't shoot the ball. And, you know, that's largely on him for not developing. I mean, you think about, I mean, granted, like LeBron and Jordan, two of the greatest players ever played a game, but, you know, early in his career, there was a little bit of rap on Jordan that he wasn't a great perimeter shooter, and he became one. There was a rap on LeBron, you know, can't shoot the ball, you know, and he became a very, very good high-level shooter, you know. So, you know, Ben Simmons doesn't appear to have ever put enough value in that to, you know, to make that at least a confident part of his game. I don't think we're ever going to mistake him for Curry or, you know, Ray Allen or anything, but like, you would think that he would have developed his game at least to the point where he's a competent shooter, that you had to at least respect the fact that he may shoot the ball. So, you know, that piece of it's on him. So, like I said, most of his tenure in Philly, really good for the franchise. The way it ended and everything, obviously, like a bad look for the franchise and a really bad look for him.
Yeah, you know, and that is brought into question because things have been so dramatic over these last couple seasons. You know, is he just going to cause more issue with Brooklyn? Is it going to become more of a dysfunctional family? Which is why I think, you know, arguably Philadelphia continues to win that that trade for with Ben Simmons moving and James Harden coming in. The draft picks are good as long as Brooklyn uses them correctly, and that I think that's the thing that holds me out on saying that there's obviously some value to Brooklyn in this, but as far as what they got, it's left to be seen. And will it be consistent, and will it stay on the court? That's the big question when we talk about Ben Simmons. And if they shed Andre Drummond, then you're saying, okay, you got the draft picks, Seth Curry, and we'll see. I mean, it's a lot of questions there. I think Philadelphia was definitely smart to move him the way that they did. They had to give up some draft capital, but beyond that, I think it was the right move. Looking at, you talked about NBA MVP. Before I let you go, speaking here with Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball analyst and head coach here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We're talking all things hardcourt, and then in hour number 2, in just a few minutes, for those of you coming in, for the NFL Draft Virtual Profile, we'll have Kingsley Jonathan joining the broadcast, a 2022 NFL Draft prospect coming out of Syracuse as a defensive end and outside linebacker hybrid from Lagos, Nigeria. So we'll hear from him in our virtual profile in just a little bit here. But before that, we look at the candidates, the top 3 candidates for the NBA MVP. Nikola Jokic, looking at him out of the Denver Nuggets, his team has been bumped out of the playoffs. They won 1 game against the Golden State Warriors, and he, for this season, taking a look at it, 13.8 rebounds per game, 7.9 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game, and 27.1 points per game. We look at Giannis Antetokounmpo. His team has moved on past the Bulls, and they only gave up 1 game in their series, so they continue to move forward here. Looking at Giannis's numbers, 29.9 points per game, 1.4 blocks per game, 1.1 rebounds per game, 5.8 assists per game for the big man, 11.6 rebounds a game. And then Joel Embiid, that you talked about with Philadelphia, 30.6 points per game, 1.1 steals per game, 1.5 blocks, 4.2 assists per game, 11.7 total rebounds, and he's still alive. I would imagine when it comes to the MVP, it's got to factor in the one that's still leading their team in the playoffs. So I think Giannis definitely gets a nod to that because he's into the second round. Joel Embiid's still alive, but a lot of people talking about Jokic and that he's going to get it. What do you think should be the key factors, Dave, in deciding who will be this year's MVP?
Yeah, well, I think the votes are in. I think the MVP is a regular season award. So
yeah. But I mean, in your opinion, who do you think? What I'm saying is, when we look at Jokic and we look at Giannis and we look at Embiid and the voting and whatnot, I'm saying we look at sheer numbers. But in my world, I don't know. I think when I'm looking at this season as a whole, I think in order to crown an MVP, I want to see the playoff side of it. I know there's the regular season MVP, and I know that we talk about, the playoff MVP and whatnot, but who do you think of the 3 that we're talking about has really earned the right to be called MVP? Because in my world, if I was voting, I would say, hey, you know what? I want to see where these teams are at in the playoffs. I want to see what happens from this point of view. I'm one of those people that if I'm crowning an MVP and they're out the first round of the playoffs, I'm saying in the argument's sake of these 3 gentlemen, if we were voting right now, who would you vote for and what do you think the criteria should be?
Yeah, I mean, it's hypothetical. If we were voting right now, I still think, given the whole season's body of work, I think Embiid should be the MVP. But I don't think you're wrong by choosing either of the other 2. Jokic, if you watch the series with Golden State, I mean, they were at a severe talent deficit as a team. Stat, in kind of in favor of Jokic is I think Gordon is the second leading scorer on Denver's team. He has the lowest points per game scoring average of any number 2 scorer in the league. So I thought Jokic and Denver really, even though that series went 5 games, I was really impressed with how they competed the last couple of games. Because early on, I thought that was, that had the makings of a sweep with a blowout every round. And they won game 3 and really were right there and, could have had a chance to win last night. Giannis, I think, suffers a little bit in the MVP discussion. I think people get greatness fatigue. I think you can make a great argument that he's the best player in the NBA right now today. And, he's got a couple MVPs under his belt. And it's the same kind of thing where, Jordan through a stretch of his career and LeBron through a stretch of his career, he could have given him the MVP every year. And I think voters get a little bit of, greatness fatigue there. So that probably will work against a guy like Giannis. But I think looking at this season start to finish, by the numbers and by how the team played, team success, and, he put the team on his back, without Ben Simmons and everything, I think, Embiid should be the guy this year.
And we shall see what those final tallies say to us. As Jokic was talking about the fact of, if he's able to get back to back, then he'll join Giannis Antetokounmpo. And like you said, greatness fatigue. If you give this award to somebody 2-3 times, do you keep giving it to him, and does it lose its lore and whatnot? So I mean, I think you give it to the best. I mean, that's how it's got to be. That's what it is. And we look at the rookie of the year, Scotty Barnes, Toronto Raptors. He's won it over Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers and Cade Cunningham of the Detroit Pistons. Your thoughts on our final note here? Your Sixers, my Raptors, they're playing each other in Game 6 tonight in Jurassic Park in the great, wonderful city of Toronto that I love so very much. And so we will get to see a Game 6 backs against the wall. I proud that I was wrong. I thought Philadelphia would have the easiest sweep the way that the series looked. And up 3-0, Toronto was able to, first and foremost, we go back to Game 3. Toronto had that game and didn't make free throws when they needed to at the end of the second half, as well as, when we look at the overtime side of things as well. They weren't able to close things out in the fourth quarter. They weren't able to close things out in overtime, and it led to their demise with 0.8 seconds left with Joel Embiid hitting a big-time 3-point shot, a 27-footer, and he had hit one from that range as well earlier on in the game. So Toronto had taken what was a 20-point loss and then almost a 30-point loss and then turned that into almost getting there to victory. So they were elevating themselves and getting better in Game 3, showing that they adjusted to the Philadelphia 76ers, but they didn't get that victory. Then in the next game in Toronto in Game 4, they adjusted and were able to pull it out 110-102. Then they go to Philadelphia and win by 15, and now they have an opportunity in Jurassic Park to tie a series that once looked like it was lost and force a Game 7. How are you seeing Philadelphia and Toronto as we step forward?
Well, I think this series is going to, especially if Toronto comes back and wins the series, it's really going to turn into an indictment of Doc Rivers. I think Philly looked much in control of the series after but we talked after the first 2 games, and I said really all they did was hold serve, and you expect Toronto to play better at home, which they did. Role players tend to play better and everything. I wasn't that surprised that Toronto played a lot better at home. The thing that surprised and really disappointed me as a Sixers fan is that they played such a poor game in Game 5, and to Toronto's credit, they were really solid and played well and deserved to win the game. But if you're Philly, you're playing at home. You got Embiid nursing an injury, and Toronto's without Van Vliet. That's a game Philly has to win, and they did. So I think that, Toronto's going to have a great crowd at home. If they manage to win tonight and push it to Game 7, the pressure on Philly back home in a Game 7 after being up 3-0 will be incredible. The Philly fans were not happy after Game 5, which Philly fans are not happy a lot of the time. But, I think the noose is going to get really tight around the Sixers' neck if Toronto manages to win tonight and push it to Game 7. So, as a Sixer fan, I would tell you I'm a little bit nervous about where the series has headed the last couple games. I still think the Sixers are the better team, but, they're in a kind of a similar situation last year against Atlanta and to where I thought the Sixers were the better team, and they were unable to rise to the occasion, and the team that was basically playing with house money, was playing free and easy and managed to steal the series. And I got a little bit of concern that the same thing could happen with Toronto. I'm hopeful that the Sixers can close it out tonight, but if it goes to Game 7, that's going to be really an interesting environment.
Yeah, and I think it's definitely lean on the side of Toronto to take that momentum and to do what they can with it at this point, because they've already shown in Game 3 that they had adjusted and they had evolved and they had learned. And then in Game 4, they took what they had learned and adjusted to and turned it into a victory that time around. And so you know what it's like to get a win. You know what it's like to get a win with your backs against the wall against Philadelphia, because you've done that in Game 4. You know what it's like to win in Philadelphia because you did that in Game 5. So now in Game 6, you're heading back home. You're in front of your fans, some of the greatest fans in the world. And then you have an opportunity, if you're able to take care of business there in front of the people that love you so very much, to head back to Philadelphia, where you've already won and you already know the taste of victory. So, I mean, this has become a true series, and I'm excited to see where we're going to go from here. I guess for you, Dave, final piece here, who's the catalyst for Philly and who's the catalyst for Toronto in this game? Who's the catalyst and who's the dark horse? Who do you think the game needs to lean on for both teams, and who would you consider the dark horse for both teams?
Well, I think in Philly's case, like, Harden's got to be a little bit more assertive offensively. I think with Embiid, Embiid's still playing at a high level, but the injury is clearly having a little bit of an effect on him, and he's a high usage guy too. So I think that on Philly's side, it's Embiid, and then I think the other guy would be Maxey. Those two guys need to take some load off of Embiid's plate. The dark horse guy for Philly would be, they haven't gotten much in the way of bench production. So I would think that, maybe a guy like a Shake Milton or a, Korkmaz is kind of fallen out of the rotation, but, maybe they go to him or, a little bit more bench production than they've gotten in the series. On the Toronto side, what's Van Vliet's status tonight? Has that been announced?
It's looking like, as it currently is this morning, that it's doubtful.
Okay, so if he doesn't play, that, of course, Toronto won without him the other night, which I thought was a testament to the Raptors. But with no Van Vliet, Siakam, I think, needs to be an elite level. I think he's the guy that they're really going to need to lean on. I think if he has a big game, the other thing too, and in terms of the dark horse or the X Factor type thing, I put Nick Nurse in there too, because he's a guy that in the past has, he's come up with the gimmick and he's come up with the one-off scheme, or so I think I would put him and the Toronto coaching staff in kind of the dark horse or X Factor category. The other guy would be Anunoby. I think if he comes out and plays at a high level, certainly, he's a guy that can be a difference maker in a one-game type thing. So that would be my breakdown, on the Raptors side of things.
Yeah, no, and I definitely appreciate that. And in the spirit of fairness, I'll do the same thing. I think for Philadelphia, their catalyst here is a James Harden, right? What is he going to do? How is he going to attack the basket and make his shots from long range? What will he give? In the last game here, in the 103-88 loss in Game 5, 15 points in 40 minutes in the game. He attempted 6 threes, and he attempted 5 shots from inside of the arc. So what can he do? He had 7 assists in the game, but the question is, how much of a factor can James Harden be? Can he get to the rim, and can he make those deep shots that we've seen him do in the past? I would put him as the catalyst, and then as far as the dark horse, I would go to Philly's bench. You know, somebody from the bench shaping out here. In the most recent game, the bench combined for 11 points, and those 11 points came from 6 players that played off the bench, 2 of them not scoring at all. So, you know, I think the bench is the dark horse in general for the Philadelphia 76ers. And then for the Toronto Raptors, you know, to look at their side of things, I think the catalyst with, you know, having Fred VanVleet out, I think, you know, I look at a catalyst being Gary Trent Jr. How involved will he be offensively, and what can he bring to the table? You know, I think OG Anunoby, we know that he's definitely done some good things. Pascal Siakam has been incredible. I am so happy that they didn't let him go in prior trade opportunities. Scotty Barnes, too, 12 points in 41 minutes. So I think there's a bunch of different catalysts here. I think dark horse for the team is Precious, who had 17 points off the bench. You know, I think it's somebody in that bench world of what can they do? Can a Thaddeus Young step up? Can Boucher say, you know, can he step up and do a little things, do some things off the bench that are going to create for this team? They've been able to get bench scoring. Precious outscored the entire bench of the Philadelphia 76ers plus 6 points in the last game. So can he continue to be a factor? You know, they have a deep bench. They have a lot going on here. And I do agree with you. Nick Nurse is another dark horse to this. You know, how can he adjust? Because he's proven with Toronto and him as the head coach that when they don't have superstars, when trades happen, when guys leave, when guys go down, he's found a way to keep this team rocking and rolling. And that's been his thing, right? In the post-game press conference of getting to another game, having this team have another game, continuing to grow. And he's talking about this team almost like it's a regular season. You know, it's okay, well, this is what I want to see. We need to get another game in. We need to get comfortable. We need to do this. We need to continue to move forward. You know, he's talking about a team maturing and growing right now this deep into the season, which I think shows that we haven't seen the best of Toronto. And with them winning without their superstars, it says a lot about them. It says a lot about him, and it says a lot about their bench. And it says a lot about what's coming up in Game 6, which I am ecstatic for tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm pulling double duty, watching that game closely, as well as doing a live draft cast from Pizza Man Pub on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York. So with that being said, Dave, as always, I appreciate you. I love our conversations, and I can't wait to have you on in just a couple days.
Sounds great, Dan. Let's enjoy the game tonight.
All right. Enjoy the game. Have fun, and I'll talk with you soon.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Take care. That coming from Dave Pasiak here, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So always appreciate having Dave here on the broadcast, and thank him so much for his expertise and expanded time that we had on today's show. We're going to take a quick step aside for a fast break. When we come back around, we're going from the hard court to the field, and we will be discussing the draft prospect in a virtual profile that is Kingsley Jonathan, 2022 NFL draft prospect, defensive end, outside linebacker hybrid, coming to you out of Syracuse University here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. He's up next right after this fast break. Stay with us. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout central and upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to, and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com.
Cafe Kubal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafekubal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Kubal needs. Cafe Kubal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets that thing called life. You are watching on youtube.com and facebook.com worldwide, both / Wake Up Call DT. You're also watching on facebook.com / live now DT. And of course, you're listening on our live streaming radio worldwide on mixlr.com / Wake Up Call DT and on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. Like I said, inside of these Cafe Kubal studios, fill your cup up right today in Cafe Kubal, which is all throughout Central New York and right down the road, multiple locations around the Carrier Dome. Someone who is no stranger to the Dome and no stranger to Syracuse, New York, is Mr. Kingsley Jonathan. And Kingsley has been somebody that's been on my show since the beginning. I have gotten to watch him grow and mature and become a starter and be a big part of Syracuse's defense. And now he's a 2022 NFL draft prospect on the defensive line as well as in the linebacker unit. So it is my absolute pleasure, as always, to welcome the King back to the show, Mr. Kingsley Jonathan. How are we doing, sir?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And Kingsley, you know, I talked to Aaron Service about this, about his hair. You're out there and the hair's up during pro day. Now it's down during this conversation. Do you have a preference?
I don't have a preference. During while I was working out for pro day, I didn't have anybody that can get my hair done. So I was just rocking it with the hair up throughout the training and into pro day. I just kept it the same.
Do you have a game day preference underneath the helmet?
Like this, with my hair up, my helmet can't fit. My head can't fit in my helmet, so I tend to braid it for game days.
You know, and I want to go back to pro day where the hair was up and whatnot. You know, we got to come out and get to see you in pro day, and I love the fact, and I appreciate Syracuse University for letting us be there because I really am a student of the game, and I just wanted to see how, you know, each of you performed. And obviously there's 4 guys on the D line. There was yourself, McKinley Williams, aka Bear, Cody Roscoe, Josh Black, and then running back Abdul Adams and jack of all trades on the offensive line, Aaron Service. What did you take away from pro day? And I want to break it down specifically, but kindly, broad scoping it here to start things off. What did you take from pro day?
In general, I took like the ability to put work in on something for so long and to see it come into fruition, you know, for all the guys, you know, I know we've been in contact throughout this whole process and knowing how much work everybody's putting in and just go out there and for everybody to take advantage of the opportunity was that really big thing for me. And like showing teams that what we're capable of.
You know, for you specifically, what about the drills did you think was most challenging at pro day?
I didn't think any part of it was challenging. That's what we live for that day, so we can show what we got. So if we had been out there for 6 hours, I would have been smiling because that's more opportunity to show what I'm capable of. So I can't say any part of it was challenging.
I like that you said 6 hours because that's what I've been saying. I was like, I wish, you know, I would have loved to just sit there for 6 hours. I would have just sat my butt on the field at the Ensley Center and just watched you guys. I don't care what you have to do. I mean, I just loved it. And I got to get some hype video, got to get you, you know, running and doing some different things. Mm-hmm. I want to go into some of these drills here. The 3-cone is obviously a challenging part because you have to be able to do a few different things, quick movement, and be able to not only have your speed there, but have your footwork there, and to be able to come around that last cone and whatnot. Bring me into the 3-cone and what you took away from that drill, and if you really felt like you did what you needed to do there.
Yes, I did. The 3-cone is about, being able to manage your speed, bending the corner, bending the waist, and keep know when to turn it up and when to slow it down. So it brings all of that together, from the first 10 yards to the back 10. So going into it, I knew like I had good change of direction, and being able to bend around the corner, because that's all we do, every day. So going into that, my trainers and where we worked out, put a lot of work into all these drills. So it's just carrying it over and being able to perform on the field. So I was satisfied with what I put out there, and to be able to run like 6.9s to the 7.0s was like, it's a really good time. So I'm proud of that.
And then we got to see as well your ability to, come off the line and strike and then come around when we had kind of the dummy set up there. Bring me into that, because I got to show some of that in the hype video I did for Pro Day, is your ability to strike, come in and out, the zigzag, and then come around and show your speed there. How did you feel you performed in that respect?
That was that drill is our bread and butter as a defensive lineman. We do that every day, all day, being able to hit the bags and get our hips around, bends and at the point of attack, at your strike. Those little things that I don't even think about anymore. I'm just going out there and my body's just taking me through it. I don't have to, okay, what am I doing here? It's just, my body's just doing what it's used to. So it was really good that they put us through that so we can show them that we have like fluid hips and being able to get around the corner.
And then footwork wise, we got to see a bunch of different things that you were doing, and your ability to step in and out and then be able to take off with the burst. How do you feel you have put your footwork on display for the NFL?
I feel like, being a soccer player all my life, I've always had like really sweet feet. So being able to just take advantage of that and translate that to the bags and getting over the bags and being quick with it and changing direction, I felt that I did really, really well in those drills. And just happy that they incorporated that drill so we can showcase what we can do. All the guys going through the bags, we were really smooth with it. So we were really happy with that.
Coming here from Kingsley Jonathan, NFL draft prospect on the defensive line as well as linebacker, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You talked about the guys on the defensive line. That was really, the meat of the group here. Like I said, you had Abdul, you had Aaron, and then everybody else was D-line. We had you on the outside. We had Josh Black on the outside, Cody Roscoe on the outside, and McKinley Williams on the inside. What can you say about going through these drills with your brothers and having one more opportunity at it? I know fresh off of Pro Day, you and I got to talk about that right after this was your last go around with the guys. So now that you've had some time to think about it, just what it was like to do these drills one more time with them, knowing the stakes that are on it.
I didn't think I had enough time to digest like that. That was the last time working out in Ensley for a long time, until maybe I come back to work out. But I just felt like really blessed to be able to have the opportunity to play at Syracuse, in general, to be able to represent that school in general was very big. And then being able to have the football players that's still on the team right now present in the pro day and watching and seeing, okay, this is where we got to be, to be able to, so we got to do what we got to do so we can have the ability to showcase what we can do in this kind of stage. So just being an example of those guys and showing them that there's a next step in the road, and to get there, you really got to put that work in. So I'm just excited to be an example for the guys and something to look forward to in their journey.
And you mentioned that, the fact that, the young guys were there, the players that are still on the roster that are continuing to play at Syracuse, a bunch of them decided to come out and see you. And some of those, guys, the Sean Tuckers, the Garrett Williams, and there's guys that were sitting in that crowd at the Ensley Center that are thought of to already have draft stock. So what did it mean to you to have them out there? Because obviously, for them, it's good for them to see the drills. It's good for them to get a feel for it. It's really big for them. But to know that you had their support and that they wanted to be there, just what that meant for you as you step forward.
That's something that's always been around since I've been in Syracuse. Since I was a freshman, I used to go to watch the pro day guys and see and give them support them, and when they jump, clap for them and be there as a support. And it was very, very good to see it come around and have those guys being very supportive for us and while we're doing workouts. I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to be there.
When you went to the pro days to watch other guys like they just came to watch you, what did you take away from the pro days that you went and watched before you went through it this year? So what were your takeaways? And then secondly, do you believe that it helped to calm your nerves and get you more comfortable?
It definitely did. The pace and the timing, that's the biggest part of pro day, because we have to go from the bench and we're right up to the jumps, and we're walking out in the cold to the indoor field. So we have to be able to manage our internal heat and our body heat, how warm we stay, and getting ready for the 40. That's like a quick. You don't get a lot of time to warm up. When we go train, wherever you're gonna train, you're gonna get time to warm up every day, so you don't get hurt. But that day, you're not gonna get as much time as you think you're gonna get. So you should be able to make decisions on what you need to do to warm your body up quicker. And transitions from the 40 to the 3-cone to the agility, you don't get extra warm up for those drills. They believe you're already warm, so you got to be able to go. While you're training, we get individual warm up for those drills, because got to get your ankles, the hips, get ready to touch and bend.
Yeah.
But that day comes, we're going. They're not going to give you extra warm up for those drills. So just being able to manage that and recognize that, I'll be like, oh, okay, we're going right at it. So understanding those concepts and being able to apply that when the time comes is important.
You talk about managing your body heat and making sure you're warm and ready to go. Bring me into that and the importance of that, because you mentioned it a few times, and I don't think that, people, unless you've been through it, you don't really understand it.
Oh, yeah, we're going from the bench. Believe it or not, the bench is like a cardio workout when you're going 29 to 28, 29 reps, because you hold it and you're going. Then you got right after that, you got to jump, So your body, your heart's already racing a little bit, you're already going. And making that walk across, you have to put on sweatpants and hoodie so you can keep your body heat inside, so you don't so you don't have to feel like you need to get sweating again by the time you get in the indoor. So when you get in the indoor, you feel like you're already warm, so you just got to do drill specific warm-ups rather than just general warm-up, So understanding that you have to manage how your body feels throughout this whole process. Just got to be one. Yeah, you're the only person that know how your body feels. So understanding how to manage that is important during that stage.
Why is it so important to manage, your body heat and just how you're feeling? Why is that important in your transition from drill to drill?
Oh, so you can stay healthy. If you spend right after you jump, if you hang around for too long in a weight room and just watching and doing things, then you make the long walk outside and you sit around a little bit, your body's cold, So if you don't realize that, and you get up at that point and start doing drill specific warm-ups trying to go,
yeah,
that's how you get hurt, That's how injuries happen. So being able to understand that you need to stay warm and active in those times is very important to just prevent injuries in general,
So you get out there, you run your 40. So many people care about that number. I care about what's on tape. I care about the person on and off the field. I want to see everything. I want to get to know everything. I want to know, regardless of things I want to look at what you can control, right? You can't control your height. There's certain things you can't control, but what you can control is what you do with what you have. So if I'm out there as an NFL scout, I'm looking at different things, and I'm not just going, how fast can they run in a straight line, because that's typically not, what happens in football. But so many people care about the 40 time. Bring me into how you prepare for a 40, because some people think you can just go out there and run a straight line with no preparation. And you talk about, body health and heat and all of that, making sure that you keep your body warm. So bring me into the preparation of running a 40. And then secondly, just what you feel you did in your 40-yard dash, if you really were happy with your numbers.
Preparing for a 40 is like, I looked at it as preparing for a game, like thinking about, I had little notes in my head that I needed to focus on, little things that I know that would make me run faster. Like I've noticed like throughout the whole training, and if I do this things correctly, I'm going to put up a good time. So remembering those little things, I'm not stressing about it too much, remembering and put it in the back of my head that I need to get this done. So preparing for the 40, you got to at least run full speed 2-3 times before you're ready to run the 40. Like you can't just try to save yourself, then run full speed in the 40 and expect you to run the 40. No, you gotta have gone full speed multiple times before then you take a break before you're ready to go. But understanding that, just trusting my training from this past 8 to 9 weeks, like trusting like every little details that we harped on, from the drive phase to like the rise phase to like keeping it in that straight, and that just paying attention to those little things. And I felt like my drive phase has been really good throughout training, and I felt like I did really good in that drive phase in the pro day. We didn't have anybody measure the 10-yard split, but I'm pretty sure it would have been like a 1.5 something, because it felt good in that drive phase to the transition phase. So just paying attention to those little things. As Babers would say, it's not like the details matter, but they do, so it's just that joke. So you just gotta understand that those little things at the end of it, those tiny milliseconds, they make a difference at the end. So having that in the back of your head is important.
And coming here from Kingsley Jonathan, hanging out with us inside of the Cafe Kubal studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, outside linebacker and defensive line prospect for the 2022 NFL draft, coming from Syracuse University. Do you feel that you have demonstrated, from pro day and what you've done and whatnot, have you showcased enough, in your opinion, of these individual workouts and different drills and whatnot? Are you proud of your bench? Are you proud of your speed? Are you proud of your jump? What can you say about what you've put on tape in these times, and of all these numbers that, NFL teams are going to look at? And there was over a dozen teams that were there at pro day. When you look back on your numbers and what you did in that moment, if that's all that they look at come draft day, how do you feel you've done with your ability to show your jump, to show your speed, to show your change of direction, to show your power? Have you done enough?
As an athlete, like I'm like my biggest critic. So I was definitely not satisfied with any of them, like that's how I feel going into it. I'm like, okay, why didn't I? Because during training, I ran like a 4.6 something. So like, why didn't I, have that kind of day, so little things. Okay, why didn't I hit one more rep to make it 30 reps? Why didn't I cut my 3-cone by split seconds? But I can't dwell on those little things that I feel like I could have done better, and just gotta trust in the fact that, okay, I put my best foot forward that I could, and I showed like I'm athletic and I could do those things, and produce good numbers, and I'm just looking for an opportunity for somebody to like feel like they can use me in any position they want to use me in, and just be able to go from there,
Syracuse had one of their best players in the history on the defensive side be a defensive lineman who's translated to be a guy who can stand upright at outside linebacker, and Dwight Freeney, around the same weight as you, too, around those 260s, and he's 6'1" and you're 6'4". What can you say about your ability to either put your hand in the dirt or to be able to play upright? Because I saw it, when I was watching Pro Day, I said, well, his body type looks like he can play linebacker. It looks like you can play up. For a guy like Dwight Freeney, who came out of Syracuse and translated to that, where are your thoughts on being able to play up or play down in the translation that the NFL might ask you to do?
Throughout the season, I didn't get a lot of opportunities to stand up, but at the All-Star game and the Tropical Bowl, all I did was stand up for most of the times, in the pass rushes and the run plays. So putting that on film that I can stand up and play both the run and the pass, especially the pass. That was good to have, being able to have the opportunity to go out there in Tropical Bowl and stand up and play as an outside stand-up outside linebacker. And I'm nowhere close to where Dwight Freeney is. Hopefully someday I'll get there. But there's like I watched so many clips of him and a lot of guys and like trying to get just the little advantage, in what I do, So I pride myself being a student of the game and learning all that I can from people that have done it before. So I'm just blessed to have this opportunity to be able to like go after it,
To play up or play down, you have to obviously have your body prepared for both. And I know that you and I talked off the air about this, and we'll get into the workouts here, but the Ravens looked at you at outside linebacker. The Bills looked at you as a defensive end. How do you have to train your body to be able to do both? Because to do something great, right? You want to just hone it in and just stay on it all the time. And I'm a proponent of, when people say you can only do one thing great, you can't do a lot of things great. I don't agree with that, because I do a lot of things in my company and I love challenging myself, right? So you want to be a great outside linebacker. You want to be a great defensive end. How do you translate between the two when a team might call you today and say, we need you in 3 days to come here and train as an outside linebacker and showcase yourself? And then 2 days later, they're sending, you're going off to another NFL team that wants you to play with your hand in the dirt as a defensive end. How do you get your body to shift back and forth successfully?
Having experience with both, it's fluid. It's like I don't even think about it too much. It's not. The only difference is that your hand is off the dirt, and sometimes you're switching your hands, switching your feet, and what feet is up. But that depends on what the team and defensive line coach wants. I don't think about it as two different things at all. Like it's just being able to adjust to those things is like, I feel like I can offer that. Like it's just fluid within those two things. Going to stand up, I'm standing up. Going to go down, I'm going down, because I have those experiences with both. And I don't think about it like this. I don't think about it like, okay, oh damn, I have to stand up now. What do I do? No, it's like it's just natural. It comes naturally, and I don't have to think about it. And just being that fluid. You want me to move to 3 technique and rush the passer, I can do that. I can play full eye, I can do that and rush the passer, play the run. I can do all those things because I've had those experiences with the game time experiences with it, and just being fluid with it. I feel like gives me advantage in that sort, and being able to show what I can do is big. It's big, and so if you want me to back up there and play safety, I'll go there and do it. So. Just having the opportunity to be out there.
And as you've trained your body to be able to do that, as you've gone on at Syracuse, we have seen you be able to get to the quarterback and to have success there. I mean, you've had a sack every season that you played in. You got a bonus season with the COVID extra year granted through the NCAA. You started off with a sack as a true freshman in 2017. You had 5 as a sophomore. Then you had 1.5, then 3, then 4.5. So 3 out of 5 seasons, we've seen you get at least 3 sacks. And in just your second season with 5, and then you came very close to that with 4.5. What can you say about your ability to get to the quarterback and to get around whoever you're facing on that line, because of the fact that you've shown us that every single season you can get to not only get to the quarterback, but to successfully be able to do it. And I don't think the stats adequately show from just sack wise how many times you've broken into the backfield and got the quarterback to have to move around and maybe just gotten there or at least shifted what they were doing. So there's a lot to be said about statistically what you've done, and then what doesn't show up on the stat sheet that I saw in real game time, your ability to get back there. So speak with me about, how you view what you've done and your technique to attack a quarterback and what that should show to the NFL.
Rushing the passer is a bonus. Like after you've played the run and forced them to pass the ball, then you go have fun and rush the passer. That's the fun part of the game. Being able to affect the quarterback was the biggest part, getting there, getting to move up, getting them to move out the spot. Like you mentioned, like the stat didn't show a lot of the pressures and all that stuff. Just getting him to move around and force errant throws was a big part in our rush defensive line. So, as I said before, that's the best part of the game. That's where everybody goes and have fun. So just being a student of the game to understand the art of pass rush it's a beautiful thing when you understand it, and being able to rush the passer. So taking advantage of every opportunity I have to rush the passer was really big. Being able to like go out there and put on different looks, different moves and different in different scenarios and film was big for me. So I missed the first three to four games and not to that's past now, but being able to come back and get back going and like almost halfway through the season, it was really positive. So I just, it's a beautiful thing being able to rush the passer and have the opportunity to do it. It's like always a blessing.
And you talked about having to miss some time coming into your final season. How do you get your body right? How did you get your body to, because you had a successful season, statistically, we look at the numbers and like I said, the numbers don't even show what you did to disrupt. So, you have a successful season, albeit the fact that you didn't get to play in every single game. How did you get your body back? And what should it show to the NFL and to professional football in general that not only did you get yourself onto the field, but once you got onto the field, you stayed on the field and you were successful? Because consistency is key, health is key, the bounce back is key. And then to take all of that and to be able to actually be a positive piece of the defense and to be a notable player on the defense is another key to that. So you get back healthy, you're on the field, you stay on the field, you stay consistent, and you're a big part of the defense. How do you do all of that, and what should that show to the league?
Oh, I owe that all to the PT and the training room staff. Get my body back right was 90% of their I give 90% of that to them, and the 10% was me just being there every single day. So having those guys that know exactly what they're doing, Tim, Brandon, Allison, all of them, Meg, just having those guys that know what they're doing and trying to get me back on the field. Like every week I thought I was going to go out, even when I wasn't ready to go. I thought I was going to go that Saturday. So I approached the training week like, okay, this is getting ready. Yes, it's getting me ready to go on Saturday. And Saturday comes and I couldn't go. So that's the mentality I was going after every week. That was the first time in my career I ever missed games due to injury. So it felt really weird being out on the sideline. I still got in the game as a shield for field goal, but that's just something that I had to do, because nobody was there to do it. So I could do that, but I just owe it all to like the training staff and getting me back right, and me just being there every single day. I take very good care of my body. I want to say, this is my everything. It's my tools, it's my temple. So being able to take care of it and put it in the best position to recover faster was big for me. Like I'm gonna be on the field. with injuries and playing through all that, when I had the elbow strap, when I had the shoulder strap, all of that. So being able to just go out there and play through stuff is like really big for me.
How do you play through it? And what do you want the NFL to know about, because they say if an injury report was telling the truth completely, the injury report would have every player on the roster on it because you're getting, banged up and bruised every single game. What do you want the NFL to know about your durability and how you are willing to play through and get out there and do what needs to be done? Because obviously your best ability is your availability, is what we hear a lot. So bring me into that.
Being in the trenches, that a lot of things go down there. There's a lot of forces and a lot of power that goes down in those trenches, and being able to handle all that and still play the next game and come back and practice and come out. And it's just understanding your body and knowing when, okay, my ankle's feeling a little off. Might need to just go in the training room, get some rehab done before it escalates into something bigger. My hamstring's feeling a little tight. Go in the training room, get a rehab done. I spent a whole lot of time in the training room and knowing my body, I'm not going to sit out unless I can't move. Like the coach, Tim was going to tell you, I'm not going to sit out a game unless I can't really, do it. So if I just need you're going to strap me up in my shoulder, I can't do this, but I can play, I'm in there. If you're going to put this in my elbow, I can't lock out, but I can play, I'm in there. So missing games I don't know, it felt really weird. I don't know. It's not something that, I never want to do. So having that mentality in general is like something that was big to me.
Kingsley Jonathan hanging out here with us, outside linebacker and defensive end, on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Cubal studios as he gets set for the NFL draft and professional football in general, coming off of his time at Syracuse. I want to get to some history at Syracuse, but we're talking about this season. And when you did come back, you went up against Malik Willis, right? And he's one of the high draft picks, right? One of the top two quarterback notables in this 2022 draft. Malik Willis out of Liberty, Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh. You get to see them both, right? You get to see them both this season. Malik Willis, when he came to the Dome with the Liberty Flames, he brought almost the entire NFL, right? Almost all the scouts are there. Over 20 teams are in the press box with me and the rest of the media. What I love about that game, and I'm happy that Dino alluded to it as well, is it was like a big thank you, right? Thank you for bringing all these scouts from the NFL, because they got to see Kingsley Jonathan and Aaron Service and Josh Black and McKinley Williams and Cody Roscoe and, Abdul Adams, the future of Sean Tucker and whatnot. They got to see so many of you. What can you say about that game against Malik Willis? You were involved with getting to him as well. You had a half a sack in that game in your return. Just what that did for you potentially, because the Syracuse defense was the story of that game. When those scouts came there to see Malik Willis excel, your team did what a lot of teams did not, which was hold him, keep him, and prevent him from a victory. So I'm sure that's some tape that obviously you want to share to the NFL, because in your return, you were successful, the defense was successful, and just so happened to be that Malik Willis accidentally got you guys a lot of exposure.
We were just all week leading to that game was a very different attitude. It was a personal game because the year before and what happened, like we took that to the gut and we walked away, So being able to have the opportunity to come back and strike back was really big for us, We took charge, like the seniors, we took charge of that whole week and reminded the guys, okay, what is at stake? And this is not going to happen again. So just to have the opportunity for the guys to go out there and play like they did was really awesome. The backhand, they were fantastic, and giving us chances to get to the quarterback and show that what we can do up front was really big, We're really good. Malik was is a really good athlete. Slipped off my fingers a couple of times. But that's how he is. That's why he's being looked at as a first rounder. But just having that opportunity to go out there and showcase what we got in that big stage was really big for me. For our guys to do what I know they're capable of was really big for us.
And you look at, like I mentioned, not only did you get to go out there and face Malik Willis, you got to go out there and face Kenny Pickett in the last game of the season, knowing that those are the two quarterbacks that are being talked about more than anybody else in this draft, and you got to go up against both of them. What do you think that does for your draft stock and, for exposure, the fact that when people are going and watching film on Kenny Pickett and Malik Willis, they're going to see you as well. How does that help you to have gone up against two quarterbacks that are getting a lot of spotlight right now and getting a lot of attention?
I'm grateful to be able to be in that position to showcase my skills against some of the best quarterbacks that we had in this, and we have in this draft, and then going out there and making a move from the spot, forcing errant throws and getting to the quarterback was really big for me. All season long they've both been really good, especially Kenny, and then being able to get back there, forcing to move off his spot a few times was big. And our guys came to play every single time. We're going in there. We don't care who your quarterback is. We're trying to I'm not gonna say we're trying to hurt him a little bit. But that's always the goal, going in there, get to the quarterback, pressure the quarterback, and affect all that and stop the run and all that. But we took the same mentality going into every game. We don't care who the quarterback was, but we're aware of it. We pay attention to it. That okay, this guy can make throws and make plays and extend plays, and being aware of that, make some adjustments in the defense and whatnot. So we just haven't had the opportunity to play those guys.
Kingsley, when you look back on your career in general at Syracuse, you played as a true freshman in 2017. You had action in all of the 5 seasons here, 2017, 18, 19, 20, and 21. When we look back on these times, what does it say to the NFL that you played as a true freshman, that you were involved right off the bat, and that, we got to see you consistently as you work through the rotation to become a starter, to become a big part of the defensive line? Just what it says about you playing as a true freshman, earning your keep, and getting to see you in rotation as you went through your time at Syracuse. If anything, we saw more of you and we saw you more consistently. You play as a freshman and you show yourself as a leader. Bring me into those two things, getting on the field right away and then being a big part of what Syracuse is trying to do with the front line.
I owe that to the coaches, Coach Steve Stanton and Coach Vince Reynolds, being able to get me ready to go. Not having played a lot of football going into college, being a student of the game was really big for me, and learning as much as I could within those first 2 years was really big. So Coach Steve and Coach Reynolds, they got me right and got me ready to go. And that shows I'm a quick learner. I'm gonna pick it up. Football is the easy part, just getting out there. There's other things in this world that's hard. Football is not hard. So being able to understand those little things and being able to show it on the field was really big for me, and learning the game as it is. So I pride myself in paying attention to the little details and picking things up quick and adjusting quick. So being able to have the opportunity to do that was really big for me, and for the coaches to trust me and put me out there and to show that, okay, he's picking it up and we can play him more. So that was a big part for me.
We look at your career, a lot to be grateful for. 2020 Jim Tatum Award winner as the ACC's top senior football student athlete. You had over 100 tackles, 60 solo, 21 and a half tackles for a loss, 15 sacks in your career, 3 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries in 56 games. And then looking at finished as one of the ACC's 3 representatives with voting power on proposed NCAA rule changes under the Division I autonomy process. So many different things to mention here. when you look back on your numbers at Syracuse, when you look back on your history there, I know you said you're very critical of yourself, but on the field, how would you describe yourself and what you did at Syracuse in your 5 seasons playing for the Orange?
I look at somebody that takes advantage of everything he's given, takes advantage of those little things and makes the most of it. Just being out there and being able to show that I can do this. I can rush the passer. I can play the run. If the ball breaks, I can run downfield and make the tackle downfield. Being able to have that hustle, that effort, that juice, and showing that in film was really big for me. Just being out there in general was always a good feeling. So that's what I'm going to miss the most. Being out there with the fans and everything. So who am I not to take advantage of that? So. There's a lot of people that sacrifice for me to be in this moment, and being able to go out there with my guys and put all this work in together and playing alongside those guys was beautiful. And it was the best part, being able to give back to the community, being able to offer my time, what I have, what I could do to where I could was also a very big part of everything for me. So. I loved my time at Syracuse, so it was beautiful to have. So,
how did you give back to the community in Syracuse?
It's like I felt like, okay, having this opportunity to be somebody that's being looked at as a Syracuse football player, and we had all that power, and I felt like even little things like getting guys involved in community service avenues. Like I would text, we would get guys like Michael, Bear, Black, Service. Hey, there's something going on down there. They're giving food to homeless there. We're doing this, we're doing that. Those little things, that's what I cherish most. Like being able to get the other guys involved was the biggest part of it, and understanding, okay, what the community needs and what we can help with was really big. So having the ability to offer what we could offer as student athletes was big.
And you mentioned a bunch of the guys on the D line. I mean, you got to go through pro day with them. And you're all going into the draft together. Josh Black, yourself, Cody Roscoe, McKinley Williams. What can you say individually about those guys? What should we know about Cody? What should we know about McKinley, a.k.a. Bear? And what should we know about Black? Like how would you describe each of them individually? Because you really became a family and in my opinion, easily the best defensive line rotation that I think Syracuse has had in a decade.
Yeah. Man, those guys are awesome, man. I can't say enough, man. Cody comes in there with a chip on his shoulder every single time. He'll tell you that, so he's always felt like he has something to prove, and he's going to show it, just given the opportunity. Cody Roscoe is going to do what he does, so that's all the guys need, just opportunity. Cody Roscoe has a chip on his shoulder to prove. Josh Black can play anything you want him to play. If you want him to back up and play safety, if he's fast enough, he'll do it. So Josh Black is that kind of person that puts on, like all of us is, put a team first and put his body in the line for almost 6 years now for Syracuse football. So he's that kind of person that will sacrifice everything for you, So Black is Bear is always there, He's like, when you think about, okay, but we got Bear though. So that's the kind of person he is, but his goal is going to be there. To be in the middle and look out for it, saved our ass a few times, so that Bear is going to be, strong. He's going to hold them to blocks. There's a reason we'll call him Bear. This dude can do backflips and he's about 300 pounds. So having him there as an athlete and a stud is somebody that is always thinking quarterback. We're trying to hurt the quarterback. So having guys with with that mentality was really big, and we all just had good chemistry, you know, and we understood the point of the thing. The whole thing was to win games. Whether you wanted me to rotate, whether you wanted me to start, whether you wanted, we all understood that, and understood that we could trust in each other's abilities.
You know, there's so many of you guys on the defensive line, and at D end, I mean, it was you, Josh Black, Cody Roscoe, Caleb Okechukwu. Like there was so much talent, right? And in a 3-4, we're only going to see two of you, and we're not going to get to see, you know, I mean, obviously in rotation, but on a down, we're only going to see two of you. What was the room like to know that? I mean, if you were out there and Caleb was out there, then Syracuse had success. If it was Black and Cody, if it was Cody and you, I mean, there's all these different combinations. But how did that push you, and how does that make you prepared for the NFL, knowing that, I mean, there was so much talent and only two spots on the DN to take it at a time, but all four of you had proven that you could come out there and start a game?
Oh, you got to take advantage of the opportunity you get, you know. Iron sharpens iron. So we all was trying to get better. Cody would teach me moves. I would show him things that I'm seeing that he needs to see. We were looking out for each other. It's not like, it wasn't a, okay, I just got to look out for me kind of deal. So we were all looking out for each other throughout the defensive line. So just still remembering that it's a competition. I'm trying to get them my reps, you know. So you got to understand that you got to take advantage of those little reps you get in practice and warm-ups and walkthroughs. Take advantage of it, show that you can do it, show that you know what you're doing, and you can be out there, you know. That was a big thing, taking advantage of those reps. And when you're out in the field, just making plays, you know. I mean, the big thing is making plays. So, yeah.
So as you step forward, you've had the opportunity to do some workouts here. You got something coming up. I want to start with Baltimore, because you came from Lagos, Nigeria, and I came over to Baltimore, Maryland. So has Baltimore become a home for you, first and foremost? And then secondly, if it has become a home, just what it was like for you to go in and showcase yourself for the hometown Baltimore Ravens.
That was the first football game I ever been to in my life. You know, as coming into the United States, that was the first time I ever got to see football on the big stage in person. So that's, you know, being able to have the opportunity to go in front of that team, that coach, that general manager, and show what I can do was a blessing in itself. So I was excited to be there, took advantage of the opportunity that I was given.
They looked at you at outside linebacker. What can you say about your time in Baltimore with the Ravens as you get set for the NFL draft? What did you showcase? How the day went? I mean, maybe what they were looking for, what they did. To be a fly on the wall of the workout for the Ravens, what would you like to share?
Working out with the linebackers was really good. The coaches put us through some of the drills that they use in games. They weren't just errand drills that don't translate to anything. They were actual drills that could translate into the game. So, you know, being able to play with extension, play your gap, and being able to shed the block, being able to rush the passer, you know, first steps, and being able to stay low, get around the corner, finish at the quarterback, how you finish at the quarterback, you know, and playing sheds and all of those little things, they all translate to the game. And we were put through those drills, and I showed that I can do those things, and given the opportunity, I can definitely be there, you know. So it's just having the opportunity to be able to work out with them was really big for me.
What were the notes? How did they, you know, did you get to talk to anybody during or after the workout with the Ravens, and what did they leave you with?
Speaking with them, outside linebacker coach, they really liked my ability to be able to play the outside linebacker, move to the defensive end, move to the 3 technique, move from a 4-eye, being able to play all those positions and be stout in there was really big. So that was a big thing I took from it.
Buffalo Bills had you play defensive end in your workout there. Bring me into Buffalo and what you did on the defensive line and what notes they left you with.
Buffalo runs I would say my freshman and sophomore year defense. So a 4-down defense. So being able to have the opportunity to play that again was sweet. It's been a minute we played a 4-down defense. So getting back out there, watching the film with them, and seeing, okay, this is how we do it, and having all those. Even same with Ravens, the culture was really big for both those teams, and I felt like I would fit in with either one of those teams and any other team that has a really good culture that they feel like they need to be sustained. And with that,
what did they leave you with? What did Buffalo say about your workout?
We had a really good workout. As I said before, we did drills that were going to translate: getting off the ball, playing the block, shitting the block, getting off and making a tackle, rushing the passes, staying tight, wearing the hoop, things like that, and getting ready to go, ball's ready, you're ready, things like that. And that I don't find difficult at all to translate. So being able to have the opportunity to be a student of the game and learn all these little things from different teams, they're giving me this opportunity, which is blessings.
On the defensive side, I mean, Buffalo obviously is making moves at not just to continue to be a playoff team, but to, Baltimore too, to be a playoff team. But in Buffalo's case, having guys like Shaq Lawson, Ed Oliver, who I covered in college at Houston, Von Miller coming in after winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. You got Matt Milano, who I covered as well when he was at BC and whatnot. What excites you about the defense in Buffalo? Because there's not only talent that's been there, but a guy like Von Miller saying, like, I'm coming here, like, I'm excited to play with the Bills right now.
As you said, being able to play with those guys would be awesome. Being able to learn from those guys and what their experiences have been. Just being a student of the game and listening. Get a whole lot done more picking up things when you're listening and being able to pick things from them. And going out there and showing what you can do. That's also a very big part. Not just being there to be there. Like, I want to show that, okay, I can be out there.
And you got to experience Buffalo, not just, for yourself, but you got to go out there with Abdul Adams, a running back of Syracuse as well. What was it like to be, albeit, him doing his own drills and his own thing on the offensive side, what was it like to be able to share a workout with an NFL team with a current teammate?
It was awesome. Throughout the whole process, Abdul kept telling me how crazy it is not being in this position, Dude is an NFL back, no doubt about it. So we're both just looking for opportunity to go out there and show what we can do.
And you have the Washington Commanders coming up, not too far away from Baltimore. What are you excited about with Washington, as well as any other team that may call you in to get a workout in? What do you still have left in the tank to show? What is it, from Kingsley Jonathan moving forward? What are you excited about for Washington and any other team to see? I got a chip. I still got to feel like I got a chip on my back, on my shoulder, I still got to prove myself, So even if the whole 30 teams call me to work out with them, I'm going to try to be there, So being able to have the opportunity to go out there and show what I can do, meet with the coaches in person, have a conversation with them, let them pick my brain and let them pick their brain so they can see that, okay, I'm really a student of the game and I live for this, So it's always a beautiful thing to have the opportunity to talk ball with the NFL coaches and scouts and things like that. So I'm just looking forward to it. You had family at Pro Day. Just to give a shout out and what that meant to you, because one of my favorite parts of Pro Day was turning around and getting that, "What's up, Dan?" and to get that hug. So what was it like I would love to shout out the wonderful woman that was there and let you shout out and talk about what it meant to you to have family there.
They've been with me through the whole thing, through thick and thin, through everything we've been going through. They've been with me, Tim and Tyra. Blessed to have them in my life, So having them there at that big stage and probably the last time I'm working out at Syracuse was really big, you know. So I was an extra boost. Like, I gotta run faster. They watching, you know, people watching, you know. So it was really good to have them out there, you know, and preparing with me throughout the process, you know.
Final 2 points here. Kingsley Jonathan hanging out with us in unfiltered, unedited, just full on getting to know Kingsley Jonathan, 2022 NFL draft prospect, outside linebacker and defensive end, and wherever else you need him, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Cafe Kubal studios. We're going to hit rapid fire in a second, but not before. I want you to look into the screen at 32 NFL franchises and tell them why. Why Kingsley Jonathan? Why take you? Why put you on their roster? What is it about you that's going to stick out to them, should stick out to them, and should make an NFL scout, GM, president, whoever say, you know what, Kingsley, yes, we're going to give you a chance. Tell me why.
You're going to get somebody that's a versatile defensive lineman, player, outside linebacker, playing any position in a defensive line. You know, somebody that will be very involved in the community, somebody that wants to help a team be the best that it can be, you know, and support and develop the culture of a team, and just somebody that's going to give everything they got. Like, I'm going to be the best teammate you can get, you know, offer myself, you know. So I'm somebody that I'm going to give 100% every time. So just looking forward to having an opportunity.
Coming from Lagos, Nigeria to where you are today, did you ever, I know you said you have a chip on your shoulder, did you envision this? Did you see this the whole time? Did you see that you could catapult yourself to be in this arena, and just what it was like to maybe see the world through your eyes? Because coming from Nigeria to the United States, and then having, you know, becoming a part of a family and being able to grow and then come to Syracuse, there's so many things that were adversity off the field. So did you always see yourself getting to this point? And just bring me into the journey to get to where you are today, because that's obviously made you into the man that you are. And it wasn't easy all the time to be where you are today.
Oh yeah. To answer your question, no, I didn't see myself getting to this stage until I got to college. Like, growing up and coming here at first, I thought I was going to be in the NBA, you know. I was trying to be a basketball player for most of my life. So I didn't start realizing this dream and seeing it in front of me until like freshman, sophomore year in college. So after I got that new vision of me, that's what I was looking forward to, being in this stage and being able to take advantage of this opportunity. So no, I thought I would be in the NBA right now. So it's a little different. so it's a little different path, but just blessed to be in this journey.
That coming from Kingsley Jonathan. Kingsley, you've answered all my questions incredibly. We're going to play rapid fire. I am not going to put you on the hot seat. You're going to put me on the hot seat. And to NFL scouts out there, I know there's a lot of questions that come from a lot of different angles. And I know in any good interview, you're always supposed, when somebody says, do you have any questions for me? You're always supposed to say yes. So with that respect, I want to showcase your ability on the fly to ask questions. I'm going to give you 3. You can ask me anything in the world about anything in the world, and I have to answer it. So Kingsley, you are now the host of Wake Up Call for the next 3 questions.
Okay. What was your best part of pro day?
Best part for me, really, you know, honestly, it was, like I said, I'm a student of the game. I love it. Like, I would sit for hours. If you said to me, hey, I want to go watch film and just like look at nuances, tell me what you see, I would go sit with you all day. Grab a pizza, sit in there and just watch it. You know, so I would say my best part of pro day, honestly, is seeing you guys. I want you all to succeed. I love you all. And I don't say that, you know, I don't say the word love unless I mean it. I genuinely care about every single player on the roster. And, you know, hopefully you felt that from day 0 when we started talking. But I mean, my favorite part is seeing you guys. My favorite part is seeing the NFL teams that took the time to come out. I think all 32 should be there. And, you know, I'm proud of you. I'm hoping, you know, like to me, I'm standing there like a brother, right? I'm sitting there watching you, watching Bear, watching Cody, watching Josh and Aaron and Abdul. And in my head, I'm thinking like, get it down, get around that cone, get those feet up, like make that move, do that strike, do what needs to be done, because I just want to see you guys succeed. So I would say my favorite part is watching you guys. And then I would also say, after it, one of my favorite things I'll never forget now about Pro Day is you having family there. And, normally families stay away from the media because they don't trust them, right? And they say bad things about their kids. And, the majority of the media is, you usually see a family run in the opposite direction. And I always want to, have my reputation precede me. And I always want people to see the difference and hear the difference in how I conduct myself as a media person. And so to turn around and to see your family there say, "What's up, Dan?" and to give me a big hug, the only way that she knows me is through my work with you. And the only way she knows that is that was the first time I met her face to face. So, that made me feel like I've done something good in the world, and it made me feel like people are hearing and seeing the difference. So I'll never forget being able to call my parents and call my girlfriend and say, "Hey, one of Kingsley Jonathan's family members gave me a hug," and that made me feel like I did something right. So I'll never forget that. And one of the warmest hugs I've gotten in a long time. So I appreciate it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I would say, okay, know my abilities and what I can do. What team do you see me playing in?
Man, that's a fantastic question. My Jaguars need all the help they can get. So Jacksonville, yes. But I would say, Dallas needs, they need some help at linebacker on the D-line. They've had some shifts over time. I think Chicago is not much of a threat on defense anymore. So I think they could use you. I think that, Buffalo definitely can use that depth on a team that's building success. I think Baltimore could, because their defense really needs to get better and excel. I think the front line of Washington for the Commanders is doing some good things, but, the linebacker core could definitely need some assistance. Really, I see all over the country. I think the Raiders need the help at linebacker. I think they need the help at D-line. I think Green Bay needs the help at keeping teams from scoring. So really, 32 NFL franchises. I know that, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and there's other teams out there that have done a lot of great things. But, Kansas City can score, but can they stop? So I don't think there's any team in the NFL that doesn't need Kingsley Jonathan. And I think that it would behoove many of them to look at you in the draft. And I think that when it comes to a steal, I mentioned the Zaire Franklins of the world, there's a lot to be had with you. And I don't think there's any NFL team that can definitively tell me that they don't need you.
Appreciate that. What quarterback would you pick first off the board?
That's a good question. I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, because we're a victim of how the draft is set up this year. I said when Detroit and LA made the trade, right, that sent Matt Stafford to the Rams, I said both teams won. Both teams won because the Rams got the quarterback that could get them to the Super Bowl and win over the next couple of years, and they already did that. And now they have a chance to do it again. I think Detroit won because they have draft capital and they're built for their future, right? And I thought Jared Goff was going to be a one-year test. And if that trial didn't work, that they were going to say, okay, you know what? We tried Jared Goff. It didn't happen. Now we have all these picks to build toward our future. So in my opinion, I think Detroit is going to go Malik Willis. Honestly, I see them making more of that splash. And I think that Kenny Pickett could fall to Pittsburgh, and the Panthers and the Steelers train in the same place. And so they already know Kenny Pickett's value. So I think we're going to see Malik and Kenny go in the first round, but I think Detroit being right behind Jacksonville, I think they're going to make the splash for Malik Willis. And I think Malik will be the first off the board. And the beauty of saying that is that y'all played up against Malik Willis arguably better than any other defense. So if Malik is the first off the board, then it would behoove the NFL to look at the team that made Malik not look like Malik, which was Syracuse. And I walked out of the Dome that day going, if that's the best quarterback in this draft, well, then this defense definitely gave themselves a good resume booster. So, yeah, I think Malik will be the first off, but kudos to you guys for getting him uncomfortable in the dome.
Yeah.
So, what'd you say?
I said good answers, really good answers.
So with that being said, I know you spent a lot of extensive time with us here today, Kingsley, but I had so much to get into, and I really want to showcase you and everything that you have to offer. So I can't thank you enough for this. I know that typical places might take a quote or two or put you on the air for 5 minutes, but, you know, I wanted you to have a true spotlight, and I look forward to not just today, but, you know, throughout the draft process and after the draft and whatnot, to stay in touch and keep in contact, because you'll always have a home here on Wake Up Call, because I believe you deserve it. I believe all the guys do. And so I hope that you took a lot away from today's spotlight, and I hope you'll allow me the opportunity to have you back on here again, because I don't want anything for you short of success, and on top of that, success. So I really do appreciate the time, and I hope that, you know, you'll keep us top of mind, because I would love to continue to tell your story.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everything, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level, is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out here with you. I want to thank you for being a part of today's show and every single show. And I did change my shirt here in the studio. We're going to talk about why in a second. But I do want to thank you all for tuning in and tell you all to tell your family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, and neighbors to tune in live to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. The sound is truly different here on the show, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com, all / Wake Up Call DT. And of course, you can also get us on WakeUpCallDT.com's homepage and on Facebook.com / LiveNowDT. Once the shows go live, you can check them out in our archives, and you can listen on your favorite streaming platforms, on Stitcher, podcasting platforms, I should say, Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Podbean, iHeart, as well as Amazon Music now and Audible, where you can listen to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, newly added there. And I thank the wonderful people at Amazon Music and Audible for that. I also thank the fact that you can ask Alexa to play the latest episode of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and she'll do that for you as well. Thanks to our Central and Upstate New York partners and beyond, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, the Honda City of Liverpool Millhouse Market, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, and Mother's Cupboard. And of course, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. Make sure you check out Dolphin Time every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Hanging out here with the Dolphins of Lemoyne every first and third Wednesday. We have AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. And every second and fourth Wednesday, we have Dolphin Dive, where we dive into the stories of student athletes as well as coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. Check out all of those specials on YouTube.com / Wake Up Call DT, and of course by going to the Lemoyne page on WakeUpCallDT.com. Get more information on the Dolphins by going to LeMoyneDolphins.com. The Marywood University Pacers are also proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. Check out the Pacers every single Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time with an all-new edition of Pacer Pride. And you can, of course, get all of those wonderful specials with the Pacers exclusively on the Marywood tab of WakeUpCallDT.com. And you can also find them by going to YouTube.com / WakeUpCallDT with the administration, student athletes, and coaches of Marywood University. Get more information by going to MarywoodPacers.com. The Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse Bobcats are here with you every single month with Bobcat Buzz, specials that we air monthly with the fantastic people in the administration, coaches, and student athletes of the Bryan and Stratton Bobcats of Syracuse. Here in our community, the Bobcat Buzz is your exclusive way to connect with Bryan and Stratton of Syracuse every single month with specials with Alex Grigorita, Nick Dmitrievsky, as well as Sean Peak, Clay Gagan Sherman, and so much more. We have a lot of great stuff coming up for you, and I'm very excited for all that you will be able to see here very, very soon. You can check out all of our specials by going to the BSC SYR tab on WakeUpCallDT.com. You can also go to the YouTube.com / WakeUpCallDT channel and connect with us there on YouTube.com / WakeUpCallDT and click subscribe. Get more information at Syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And so that brings us to the question, and perfectly coming off the Bobcats, why did I change my t-shirt in the studio? Well, because in less than an hour, I'm going to be on campus at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, because it's time for me to unveil to you the new women's basketball head coach at Bryan and Stratton. I know who it is. You're going to know who it is at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time today when we're back here on Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT and YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. We'll be back on both of our live video streaming channels to bring you the exclusive conversation as we unveil the new head coach, sit down with the new head coach, and bring it all to you here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Can't wait to do that with Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. Cannot wait to unveil the new women's basketball head coach, and we'll do that very soon. For now, I want to thank Dave Pasiak, Kingsley Jonathan, and you for being a part of the show. Find us Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, Twitter at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call_DT, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, bringing you what's poppin'. Go to maandpaspopcorn.com, and you can order from anywhere in the country, and they'll deliver it right to your doorstep. In the meantime, I'll talk with you in less than an hour. God bless,